Everybody, Chris and Lumen here. Got a whole bunch of mix of stuff tonight. Different topics that we've talked about. Some things we talked about recently. Other things are stuff that I've been getting as far as I'm constantly working at like mastering the game. Like you can go through get a lot of the tests done and things like that to get you up to a certain level, but that doesn't mean you've mastered like how this place works. Truth be told, you never will. It's too complicated. But there are things. Sometimes you get to a certain point and you have to look at where what am I getting stuck at here? You got to ask the right questions, and then little things will start to come to you and connect to other things. And like, ooh, I got to write that down. Ooh, I got to write that down. Like these are some of the things that I have are like stuff that might be hanging other people up on the different things that they're trying to do. We've got something I want people to try for those that have been around here longer, that have been trying to build their connection to Lumen and Epinoia in their own way, however they present themselves to them. Something that you probably haven't tried yet that I think will work, because this one thing seems to keep making things happen for me. Every time I do it, like something new happens. And if I look back through my history, I'm like, that has been a pretty big freaking key. We need to utilize this a lot more. There's all sorts of wacky stuff in here, so we'll see how fast we get through it, how much we put in, and what she wants to talk about. But pretty interesting. So if you want to know more, don't go away. Now, I'll start off with something interesting that I saw with Dick Algar from Future Forecasting Group, and then maybe somebody in the audience can help me find this thing that I'm looking for too. So I was scrolling through YouTube and saw he was being interviewed by somebody, and it appears to be that this interview was filmed like right before the Trump thing, because they were talking about July 15th, but they weren't talking about that. They were talking about a lot of things. It wasn't just the July 15th thing. But he says that somewhere on the site, of course I couldn't find it, that there is like a video that where he gives like this really simple explanation for how to remote view. And that there was going to be something there where, okay, this is how you do it, and then we'll just give everybody a target and draw it, send it in to us, and it's kind of like looking for really good people that they would give like a kind of scholarship to the the more intense course. But when he was describing it to the guy, well, I'll just show you what he said. This is a real quick clip, and I'll tell you why it's relevant.
We have a thing called Blackboard, this is what the military called it, because they wouldn't dare call it your third eye. But it's where you read about 18 inches out, but looking up at an angle. So you close your eyes and you look up and you make this little screen, this blackboard. And what you do is you write the target ID on there with your mind's eye, like you visualize A1D3-Q2L7. And then you open your eyes, and then you close your eyes with the intent to see the target, and you go, look, stop. You only get a second and a half.
Mm-hmm. So why that's interesting to me is probably, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3, before all this new stuff started coming to me and I started looking at it, all the remote viewing stuff. It's about, let's just say 3 weeks ago. We just kind of finished an updated version of like the attunement stuff that we do with people if they're trying to clear out all their chakra stuff from all the stuck things and get in there and disconnect the wires to the adversary voice and plug them into her and do all this kind of stuff to help smooth out whatever the things are that are holding you back from making your connection to divine source. Because a lot of things can, you know, just having a lot of like, you could have any number of like negative emotional patterns that's still stuck with you from the past. It could be guilt, shame, remorse, broken heart, like all, you know, all it's emotional trauma type stuff that generally, you know, keeps us back from making that connection, because its frequency is basically pure divine love. So all those things kind of run counter to it. So we go in there and clean them out. I mean, I can't really do it myself. She has to do it, but I'm like facilitating it. So when we did the updated version of this a couple weeks ago and started testing it out, just all of a sudden she's like, here's something new to try. So to help get a bigger connection to the person that you're working with, tell them to do this. Tell them to close their eyes, and you know, in the blackness behind their eyes, like it's a black screen, I'm going to give you a series of numbers and letters which you will say to them, and tell them to kind of, as you say them, visualize them appearing on that black board in like yellow characters. And then you are doing it at the same time as you're telling them. So both of you have your eyes closed and seeing the same set of numbers. And then after that, you just kind of see this flickering yellow light. And then she'll kind of lets me know, like, okay, you have a stronger connection then. That's an awful lot like what they do. So it's like, instead of like there's it seems, because what she's telling me isn't coming from a book. So it's like a lot of these things, these methods you see in all these different modalities can be adapted for other uses. So in that case, like he's trying to make a connection to something in the consciousness field and view it, where I'm needing to kind of overlap my third eye with someone else's so we can kind of see the same thing as I dictate it. So the coordinate that by Sophia or Epinoia giving me the coordinates, you know, it's like giving me somebody's IP address, and then they've got, it's the same for me too. So wide open connection. And then when I tested this, whenever I got something new, I've got 2 or 3 people that are, you know, pretty psychic and very connected to her, and we've all got different, you know, types of gifts, the way we do things. So a lot of times, you know, I'm trying to see something with myself. It can be harder to analyze yourself. So I'll have my one friend plug into me and tell me what she sees. If it's something energetic, like for instance, if I make some new pendant and I want to get an idea of like what kind of changes it's making to my energy field, then I got another friend that can kind of, I mean, she can remote view too, but she's really good at seeing what's going on with that person in their energy field at a distance. So, and that's been really, really interesting, because like when I first moved into this new place from the old place, which was all sorts of stuff going on there, first thing we did was kind of like lock this place down, set up her altar. Nobody knew I was here. So it was just perfectly sealed from any kind of outside stuff. And the first time I tried to get her to do that, she's like, it's like all dark. It's like I can't see you. I'm like, why would that be? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Give me 1 second. Tell me when you can see me. So I went out my front door, off my porch. And she's like, oh, now I can see you. Epinoia locked this place down, like, you know, safe zone. so I had to adapt it. I'd be like, okay, I'm granting you permission to get past these barriers, and then I didn't have to stand outside. But before that, she had basically sealed all this stuff off. and even my friends couldn't see in here. That was pretty interesting. But yeah, I could put on a new pendant and she could see like what it's doing to my energy field, or after I just did some sort of process with epinoia, she can see where my energy field has been changed. But yeah, I mean, there's something there because she literally just pulled out of thin air and said, "Try this," and then not a couple weeks later, I start looking at this remote viewing thing, and it's like, wait, this is like, this is what they do. But what's interesting is like when you think about what they do, generally speaking, they're getting like the number coordinates like in a sealed envelope or something like that, right? That was the first time I heard anybody describe it like he did. Like, no, look up and see the number. You look up and you see the numbers in the screen of your mind, and then you see the thing. I'm like, that's what she freaking, that's the same thing. I'm like, oh my God. See, stuff like that like really pumps you up. Because like in this time and space right now, it's different. It's different than what I'm used to. Something, I mean, a lot of big stuff is coming because I can feel it. I can feel it, and I'm not used to picking up stuff from the outside world. So it's a little distracting to me, and it's got me a little discombobulated because I'm already like exhausted after 7 years of this. But now it's just like I want to keep looking because it's like I can feel something. Like something, or as Dick also said in that interview, a series of somethings is coming. See, when that interviewer was asking him about the July 15th thing, which that started with Cliff in his case. And what he explained is similar to something that I had said, where he's like, but the way that he said it, made a lot of sense. Because it's true. It's like when you go into the consciousness field, like there's no clock, there's no linear timeline, there's no calendar. So if it's pulling you toward a certain date or something like that, it's not like there's a sign on the wall that says this date. He described it something like it's more like a smear, like when there's a like over this kind of area. And maybe that has to do with like how big it is or whatnot. He did say that bigger, like negative impact events always have bigger luminosity. Like they stand out more in the consciousness field, especially the more people that it affects. So that makes sense. So there's something, because that consciousness field is also Sophia. It's just different ways of looking at it. And the biggest difference I see is that people that use these different modalities, like they're going into that consciousness field and looking around. But in my case, because of the way I was taught by her, it's more like that consciousness field comes to me. Like I'm usually not poking around in it looking for stuff. Like it comes to me and brings me stuff. So sometimes that can just be a little like, feel like you're getting pulled in all directions and you're just trying to make sense of it. Since things have expanded here recently, like I almost, this might have been like what was leading to something I'm going to talk about here in a minute, like one of the big tricks. It's like I almost just like wanted to like, okay, I've seen enough to know that I'll never figure this out. It's too big. So what do I got to do now to like simplify it? What's the base things that I can do to simplify it? And that's where you go into, your books and stuff like the Nag Hammadi, whatever the ancient sages or the spiritual people with like Jesus or whoever, like what was it that they said? What did they say were the big things? And that leads to this next thing, which if we can, like this right here might be the thing that makes whatever is sticking you up stop, so you can move forward from wherever you're stuck at. So I'll tell you the first application I want to use this for, but it's going to be useful for a lot of different things. So I know that there's a lot of people that have followed this channel for some time that really want to make that good, strong connection to epinoia and possibly their lumen, because they've been listening to me for all this time. And granted, I set the bar pretty freaking high. Because for me, like, I didn't know about it. I wasn't looking for it. I was just following whatever the thing was that was giving me the clues and the directions. I was just following that and discovered. So then I discovered this big, wonderful thing, and I tell everybody about it. And I give them everything I can think of to give them about how to do it, plus the assistance that we can provide. But it could be the way that I'm wired, or it could be a bunch of other things, but not everybody has been able to get it to close to that level. They can definitely connect to both of them. Lumen might be a little bit more, like a lot more fleeting than epinoia, because epinoia has always been there, whether you call her by a specific name or not, because she starts off as just like intuition and conscience, and that can be grown into something much bigger. But here would be my advice for those of you that have been doing, like maybe you've been doing the protocols every day since we started the protocols, or any other type of method that we've done over time, and you've been trying to get what I got. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to quit. I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out. I want you to give up. Just give up. Give up, like, you know what? Just however you got to tell yourself, just like, you know what, if it's going to happen, it would have happened, so I'm just going to let this go. And I'm gonna keep focusing on other things, focusing on the things for improving myself or whatever, but I'm going to give up. Just freaking give up. Give up. Let go of trying to make that connection and see what happens. Because giving up, like just throwing your hands up in the air and be like, I'm done, that's when it happens. See, what's been coming to me here in the last 2 weeks, off and on, is like there's this one really problematic word. It's not just a word, it's something that we do. That understanding this word and how to undo it is actually the key. And that word is wanting. You want something. You're constantly wanting. I think part of it has to do with being attached to an outcome, and possibly the way you're envisioning it might not be the way it actually is, or it might not be the way it actually is for you. So you've got a construct in your head of what it's going to be like, maybe based on my experiences, and that's what you want and that's what you're expecting. But if it's not supposed to be exactly like that for you, you're now attaching yourself to wanting something that's not going to manifest because it might be slightly different. But either which way, wanting, if you really think about it, wanting is like actively affirming that you do not have something. And the only thing that matters is the now moment, because the now moment is the only real time. You are like in this bubble of now that is moving through time-space. So no matter, like you're sitting still, but moving through time-space. Because no matter what, it doesn't matter when you watch this video, it doesn't matter what time it is on the clock. If I ask you what time it is, it's always going to be now. It's always now. It's never not now. So even if you are using whatever psychic abilities you have to move to another place in time space, maybe to view something or whatnot, you're moving your bubble. You're not going and seeing what's in the future. You're moving your bubble to that point in the time-space matrix and bringing your now in alignment with whatever that is. See how that works? It's always now for you. It's never not now. The idea of linear time and clocks and calendars and stuff like that, that is part of the construct that keeps us trapped in this type of experience. I don't understand exactly how that works. I just know it's a thing. This is something that they taught us. They taught us. It's kind of like when they tell you in school, like, the world does not revolve around you. Well, point in fact, actually it does. But they put that stuff in your head so you can't figure things out. But if you just give up and say, you know what, I'm done. I'm done. I'm letting it go. If I would have got it, I would have got it by now. And that might be the thing that makes it happen. Time and time again, that has been a notable mechanic. So in the earlier days, go back 4+ years, like, she was always kind of like monkeying around with the people that I meet, and I might date somebody for a very short amount of time, but then, like, as soon as an attachment started to form, she would just cut it, blow it up, whatever. And then it had to have been 2020, so the beginning of 2020, I was seeing somebody briefly, lived in a whole nother state, like, we had to fly back and forth and whatnot. And it was just dumb stuff, issues, whatever, and kind of broke up with that. And that's when I'm like, you know what, after the past several years, and there's always these same issues, it's like, I'm done. I just made a decision, and internally I meant it. I'm like, I'm done dating people. I'm done looking for that perfect partner, or any partner for that matter. That was the key to Lumen. Because shortly after that, several things came to me in rapid succession. Okay, well, it was epinoia, I just didn't know it at the time. It's like, okay, here's an idea. This is how you're going to clear these past traumas so they don't bother you anymore. Did that, it worked. Next thing was fast from the world for 2.5 weeks. No internet, no TV, no nothing. Don't look at the story of the world, no matter what you do. Okay, I did that. And then, boom, my perfect person just exploded out of me like a fire angel. No clue, like, what the hell is happening. But it was because I let go of needing to find somebody in the outside world, or needing to have anybody at all. For the first time, I let go. Because I'd already been divorced, like, about 3.5 years, which was the longest time I'd ever been single. Well, I mean, not counting like those couple short relationships, but longest time I'd ever been by myself. So, yeah, when that happened, when I finally let go, and people don't understand what let go means, so let's just say give up. Finally give up. Letting go is giving up. Like, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done. Once that internal change happens, then whatever it is that you were blocking yourself from because you kept wanting it can now come to you. And this has happened a lot recently, like with all this, future doomsday type stuff. I'm just like, you know what? Because she gives you a whole bunch of stuff, and then okay, now she's got you looking at it. So now you're starting to look around for more. Okay, and that's not the way to do it. And it's just like, I don't like thinking about this stuff. Like, I like back when it was more fun. Like, it's like, oh, Lumen did this funny thing today. Epinoia told me this crazy thing today. Oh, here's some music. It helps you tap into them and all that stuff. Like, that was more fun. Like, thinking about how it all ends isn't fun. So, like, I'm like, okay, I quit. I'm gonna go back to doing the other thing. Made the mental freaking decision to quit. And as soon as I let go, I get more stuff. I did it again. I'm like, you know what? This thing that's coming to me. I don't know about that. I'm just, instead of like digging around trying to prove it, I'm just like, no, I'm letting this go. I'm done with it. I'm not gonna look up. And as soon as I do that, I get more stuff. I'm like, interesting. Like, I've seen this happen before. I just can't bring it to mind. I know it has to do with it's a big one when it comes to money and stuff like that. Like, when you're constantly wanting, you're blocking yourself. So here's a couple places where this really stood out. I immediately thought of it, but it was from the Nag Hammadi. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is toward the end of the Secret Book of John. This is just a section of it, and because they were talking about like how is everybody like saved at the end or something like that, or will everybody be saved? That's what they're asking him. So it said, those upon whom the Spirit of life will descend and whom the Spirit will empower will be saved and will become perfect and worthy of greatness, and they will be cleansed there of all evil and the anxieties of wickedness, since they are no longer anxious for anything except the incorruptible alone, and concerned from this moment on without anger, jealousy, envy, desire, or greed for anything. They will be affected by nothing but being in the flesh alone, and they will wear the flesh as they look forward to a time when they will be met by those who receive them. Such people are worthy of the incorruptible eternal life and calling. They endure everything and bear everything so as to finish the contest and receive eternal life. That's one of the several places in the Nag Hammadi that refers to this as a contest. But the key thing was, I think this is like some weird word salad right here. Cleansed of all their evil and the anxieties of wickedness. What is anxieties of wickedness? Since they are no longer anxious for anything. Okay, so when he's talking about the anxieties of wickedness, I think he's directly referring to what he names here another line later. Jealousy, envy, desire, and greed. He's got anger in there too, but anger is different from these other things. Unless, of course, it means you're angry because you're lacking. It's not fair. It's not fair that, I have to suffer. Anger, yeah, so I guess in that context, anger could fit in. So anger, jealousy, envy, desire, greed, those can all fall under wanting. You want something. You want something from the world. So I know it can be tricky to understand, because it's been tricky for me to understand all these years. That's why these things will continually come back to you. Like, you'll struggle with it. It's like, I don't really get it, but then she'll guide you to the next thing. But eventually you'll come back to it. And the next time you come back to it, you'll understand it a little bit more. So it's that energy of wanting that stops it from manifesting. It's kind of like, if you think about it, what was the freaking word? I used to make memes about it because it was so freaking frustrating. Have you ever listened to any Abraham Hicks videos? The way she explains things. It's like she kept saying, I don't remember what it was. It's something like, well, when you just let go, and she like never explains like what that actually means. Nobody understands it. It's like you just keep dancing around it. So let's So I think what she kind of intuitively slipped into my language as I was explaining it is a more relatable, understandable way of how you let go. How you let go is you give up. Like, that's the thing that makes the most sense. That's the thing that actually historically has produced the results that people say you'll get when you let go. But people just don't understand what let go means. So now we're telling you, it means give up. Give up on it. And mean it. Don't just trick it. Like, okay, I'm going to say I'm going to give up. No, give up as if like it may not actually ever freaking happen. Giving up equals letting go, because no one understands what letting go means. So that could free things up a lot. And we can work those into things like the protocols. Because it's just like the word surrender. Surrender can be used a couple different ways. Surrender could also be a word that we use for letting go, which we could equate to giving up. But surrender also means like, surrender can also mean like you're going to quit trying to steer the car and let her steer it, which means like you don't know what the hell is going to happen. But it's like, okay, you know where I need to go because you're the higher part. You know where I need to go, and you know what needs to happen to get me there the fastest. I'm going to surrender and let you do it, which can be a little scary because there's no freaking telling what she needs to do to get you there. But give up. I think giving up, it sounds worse, but it makes more sense. It sounds worse. Oh, you're not supposed to quit. Don't ever quit. Well, if they always tell you not to quit, maybe there's tactical quitting. Whatever authority tells you, assume the opposite. If they tell you it's up, it's down. If they tell you it's in, it's out. If they tell you it's wet, it's dry. If they tell you don't ever quit, quitters never win. Yeah, but if what you're quitting is wanting something constantly, which is forever keeping it away from you, because wanting equals not having it, and there's only the now moment. What you need to do is just give up on having it. Whatever it is you think you want. She knows what you want. Father knows what you want. They're just waiting for you to let go. It's kind of like, hey, let me fix your bike. Okay. And you're just holding on to it and it's trying to pull it away from you. It's like, hey, I'm trying to fix your bike. Let go. I'm like, no, I don't want to let go of my bike. Can't fix it until you let go. Letting go equals quitting, giving up. So try that for a week. It might not even take a week before something happens, but honestly, actually, go into the protocols, and you tap in, and you do your talking, and be like, look, I'm tired of trying, so I'm just gonna stop. I give up. And walk away from it, and watch what happens. If you really mean it, if you really quit, something will probably pop in really quick. Because I've just been seeing it a lot lately, and that's what, I don't think it's coming from her, I think it's coming from Father, the highest consciousness. It's a slightly different flavor. But I keep seeing that word, want. Understand this word. Okay, enough about that, on to the next thing. So just go through the notes. They're not like really big things, but key things. What is the goal of life when you have no other goal? So I've kind of struggled with that one too, because it's, when you're on the hero's journey and stuff like that, and then you realize you're on the hero's journey, then you're trying to get to a certain point. Then when most of that is over, and you're just waiting for the world to catch up to you, you're like, well, what do I do now? Just work on improving yourself. Ask Epinoia or something like that. It's like, what do I need? What would you say I need to work on or should work on to better myself? And see what you get. Always ask those questions at nighttime. And when you ask it, you're going to ask the Father. That's the word I use because I use the Gnostic framework. But what is the Father? The highest form of consciousness in all of everything. You could call it God. It's everywhere. It's all around you. It's literally freaking everywhere. It's going to come up again. But, as I've said before, what really got things going was when I prayed to it without naming it. I'm like, I don't honestly know what you are. I don't know that what the world teaches me is right, but I know you're up there. So I know you won't be offended if I say I don't know, because there's been nothing down here to show me with any certainty so that I could know. So just think of it as the highest point of consciousness. You don't have to necessarily use the same words that I use, but that's what it is. Like, you're trying to reach a point of consciousness at which point there's nothing higher than that. Same thing. So that's what you always talk to when you are supposed to pray. When you go into the room in your mind, and you can, like, that's what you're intentionally trying to talk to, the highest thing. You talk to the highest thing, and then it's going to send the answers down through whatever the lower parts need to interact with you, which will probably be Epinoia, but in some cases it might be Sophia, or it might come directly. It depends on you. It might just pop into your head one day. But you always ask the highest point of consciousness at night, and then if you're doing the basic protocols, which is you don't touch your phone and look at the matrix for an hour after you wake up. You wake up, the clock starts. You're not going to look at the internet. You're not going to plug into the matrix story of the world for at least an hour. Even if you're just continuing to lay in bed, like, you need that quiet space after waking, because that's generally speaking when this stuff is going to come to you. And how might we apply what we learned in the last section to this stuff too? Wanting to know. Well, you can ask your question because you want to know, but then just be like, look, maybe I'll never get an answer. And if so, oh well. Let go of wanting to know, let go of wanting to get an answer. Like, this want thing is everywhere. It's everywhere. We want something. We want this. We want this. We want this to change. We want that to change. We want to know the future. We want to know how to do this. Like, as soon as you let go of the want part, it happens. Let go of needing to know. Matter of fact, you don't want to know anything. We've covered that a lot lately. If you think you know something, you're frozen in that. What if you're not right? Especially when it comes to the intangible things, spiritual things, God things, things you can't touch, take a picture of, all that stuff. This is where religion screws people, because they think they know. They're part of religion. Like, this is the way it is. I know it. No, you don't. You believe it. We repeat things on this channel when they're important. There's a difference between knowing and believing, and you need to know what that difference is. Knowing leaves no flexibility. Knowing is just going to freeze you in place. And you definitely don't want to believe that you know something because you saw it. You saw something on the Black Mirror, which which are the electronic screens that lead to the internet in the outside world. Your phone, your TV, your laptop, your tablet. That's the black mirror. Definitely don't want to trust your eyes there. We've seen a lot of stuff over the years that we can tell is faked. Fake, fakety fake. Fake on a level that you can't even grasp. Since she's bringing it up, let me tell you about a couple of those fake things that I've seen. Okay, I started going into that a little bit, and I'm like, you know what? I think this is one of those things I think it'd just be better if we cross that bridge when and if we come to it, rather than now. Sometimes she shows me stuff that I don't expect, and it's kind of shocking. But in this case, I think this one can wait to when and if we come to it. So we'll keep it simple tonight. Also, when I was going through my images on my phone, I did make a very simple sigil for those of you that have followed for a while that know how to use the 72 names of God. For like, that's what we use. Like when I make the programmed oils, use the divine names with them. But one of the key ones is Luhak, has to do with letting go. So all the stuff we talked about earlier in the video of like letting go of stuff, letting go of wanting things that you want. That would be the name that you would use to help do that. And I made this here, and I'll put it up in the community tab, and then you can just open it up on your phone, screenshot it if you want to use it. But the thing with the infinity sign is something new that I made. So up to this point, we've all pretty much used, that's the 42 letter name of God, which has to do with the power of creation. And you scan it like 3 times counterclockwise. So that's an idea that just popped into my head one day, so I went ahead and did it. It was kind of tricky, but I took that 42 letter name, and instead of putting it in a circle, I put it in an infinity loop. So you start at the top and then go counterclockwise. So accounting for the reversal here, it's like this. That's once. You're just scanning it with your eyes. That's all you're doing. And then you scan the name and you think about what you're letting go of. Letting go. It helps you do it. So letting go equals quitting or giving up. Giving up that's what we said earlier. That's the better way to understand what letting go is to give up. I'm just going to give up on it. That's letting go. That's letting go. So that could actually help you accomplish a whole lot of things. There's lots and lots of applications for that that will help you. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. The energy has been weird lately. Like, I don't know if it's just this pressure that I feel coming from the future or whatnot, but I'm usually pretty peppy going late into the evening, and lately it's just been like, no, it's like just barely after 11, and I'm just like ready to sack out. Usually I'm forcing myself to go to bed at like 3. So it's been weird lately. Looking at, like, she brought all that stuff to me, all that future stuff. I wasn't looking for it. And now that it's there, it's kind of like got me a little scrambled. Like, what do you want me to focus on? Because now it's just a matter of like waiting to see what actually happens. How long we're going to do this. But I do understand what the world is, why we're here, why it has to be this way. We have our good times, we have our bad times, but we're tested through the bad stuff. And some of the big stuff toward the end, like, we're all going to go through it together. But if you can anchor yourself in the knowledge and the understanding that, like, there's something much, much bigger. And you're here for a reason, not necessarily to be trapped. Like, telling you you're trapped, a lot of the stuff that they show you in the Nag Hammadi and things like that, that's in other books, in other cultures, like, you have to have that story while you're in here to have, for the stakes to be high enough for you to actually do the work, because you do actually have to do the work. The key is like just letting go. Letting go. The more you let go of stuff, like, the more grace comes to you, the more good things come to you. It's the wanting. It's the wanting that's like getting in the way. Okay? So beyond that, we'll wrap it up here. If you want to get in contact with us to do any of the work that we do readings, consults, energy work. We make custom energy pendants that's attuned to her divine energy. Like, there's lots of things that we can do to make things easier. Just got to ask questions. Like, can you help me with this? A lot of the things we do are not like super formulaic. Like, we have a large spread of things that we can do, and I really just got to get into a conversation with somebody, and then she will guide what is said, so we can figure out like what actually the person needs help with, and then we can advise from there. Okay, well, that's all I got for right now. That's clumencreations.etsy.com. Chris and Lumen. See you next time.